Welcome back to winemastery.co.uk. My name is John Lightfoot. This is
John Murphy.
And we're here to tell you all about wine, hopefully help you find the wine, if not the wines you will absolutely love. We're also here to answer any questions you may have, any queries, anything we can do to help you in the world of discovering the wine that you will really love. So, we had one of our viewers, Herya Wang. He lives in Taiwan, and he said, what does earthiness mean? And so I thought, well, why don't we go through some of those snobby terms that people use in the wine, and we sometimes fall into it. And you've even influenced me now. Rather than saying smell, I'm saying nose and things.
It's a difficult one to escape from, though, because sometimes that is the only way to describe things. Is like that. So unfortunately, sometimes these terms we have to use.
Yeah, but what we thought we'd do is we're just if you hear these phrases, we're hopefully we're going to explain what they are. So what I'll do is I'll do a number 1. You'll see in a sec. So the first one is dusty stroke earthiness. I guess that there's a slight difference between them, would you say, just fractionally?
Yeah, but only fractionally, as you say. I mean, I know I use earthiness quite a lot. I'm guilty of that one. I would say guilty because I do pick it up in a lot of wines. So the dustiness, obviously, I would describe it not quite as rich as the earthiness. Yeah. Is what I would say. But then when we say earthiness, what I mean is, or I would describe it as, it almost does what it says on the tin. The earthiness comes from, like, I always remember as a kid I used to go for a walk around the woods, and that for me, that's got an earthiness about it, from the soil. Basically, what are you smiling at already?
No.
Okay. But
just imagine you walking around the wood.
Why? It's a little dog trigger, and I'd go for a walk around the woods every day, and and when it dig a hole, kind of. That
smell.
Yeah.
I guess you're using a shovel and that sort of earthy smell you get when it's sort of damp. Because you're right, you're saying the difference is you can get dustiness in your mouth, where your mouth makes it sort of.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah, there's when you say the dustiness there as well, like if it hasn't rained for a while, there's that description as well. But then after, when it's not rained for a while and then it does rain, that smell, that has an earthiness for me as well, on the soil. That kind of, it just makes everything. I think you said, isn't it, that when it's that kind of misty, like in the shower. I read this somewhere. If you,
is this still appropriate?
Well, we'll see what you think, because when it is a bit more moisture in there, you do your nose picks up a lot more. Hence why if you're in the shower and you do a little trumpy, it smells a lot worse. So I read. Yeah, but I can understand where they're coming from there. Going from that base level to that. But yeah, when it has rain, fresh rain, we've all been there before. You can get much more. You smell.
Let me just do a little. This is my little trump. He's US president, No, US president. I was doing impersonation.
Oh, is that okay? That's fine. But you can pick up much more. But so that I would say that would cover earthiness. So what do you think? What would you?
No, I totally go along with that. Sort of, digging up the soil, just that earth. As you say, woods. There's sort of slightly. It's not exactly the rotting vegetables, but it's a sort of slight rotting. Well, an earth smell. Everyone smelled it when you as a kid. You dug up bits of earth and.
Some of us used to eat it as well.
Yeah. Of course, yeah. When I were a
lad, you were lucky. But no, I think that covers our.
I think that covers that. Yeah. Okay, let's get on to the next one. So the next one's Gamey.
Yeah,
that's not the.
No, not like Nintendo's. No. Gamey. I would describe Gamey as almost like a farmhousey, farm yardy. Do you know what I mean? All the animals together. It sounds odd, and I'm sorry, it's the only way that can really describe it or put it into visually, and then kind of take it into your head. There, it's that kind of massive farmhousey smell. Yeah, and I think also so sometimes when you have pure game, like things like grouse or something like that's got that sort of smell, hasn't it? Yeah, when you
sauce on it, but you can.
But when you're cooking it as well, you can smell that comes through, and that I would describe as that kind of gamey smell.
Yeah, pheasant, not peasant.
Pheasant.
So
it's a pleasant pheasant smell.
So all of these terms actually are used, but they're not. Some of them sound awful, but actually they're just because they're a component, and when you build on the other components, that sort of together they make a nice taste. So it's just detecting them. Yeah,
it's putting it all together because it's telling a story, isn't it? You glance at it, without sounding pretentious, but there are so many little. We're constantly trying to find. As we said before, every single wine tastes different, so you're looking for for what the difference is in there. You know, so some might have the earthiness without the gamey smell. Some might go together. So just picking those out and, you know, describing it makes it easier for you to pick them out. Because we've said this before, when, you know, when you're having a smell and you're thinking, what is that? What is that? And somebody would say, you know, earthy, and you would think that earthiness, that woodiness, and that comes through. So it does help, but I said they can be a bit pretentious, these terms.
They sounded pretentious, but it's just people trying to give a label just to... If it makes people's minds work and it links it in, then yeah, fine. Okay, the next one. Minerality. So how would we describe minerality?
Yeah. Minerality is kind of, I would describe it as, this is nearly a tough one, flintiness. Again, minerality and flinty goes together for me. The minerality would be like water. I think, like if you were to walk past a waterfall and it's splashed on the rock, that I think that'll be a really good example, because that comes through. That's definitely a smell. That might also come from that, again, a little bit more moisture in there. But I think just water in general, I know it sounds odd, but if you just have a glass of, say, some bottled water, so just have a smell of that. Water doesn't particularly have a smell as such, but it definitely has something there, and that's what I would call minerality, a freshness almost.
Okay, I think we've covered that one then.
Yeah.
3. Okay, tannins.
Tannins is one that we will come across a lot, and we've covered this quite a lot in previous videos, but to put them all into, band them all into one here, tannins can be described as, it's basically that dry feeling. Tannins is only really in your red wines, and it's not a flavour, more a sensation is the tannins, and that is the dry sensation. And I always describe it as, there's 2 main ways to describe it, which I think puts it across very well. The first is if you were to chew or just nibble a grape skin, just in between your teeth there, it has like a dry sensation. So that's how I describe tannins. But also, tea has tannins. It's like that stringent kind of dryness.
Especially if you're drinking it without milk.
Yes, yeah. Although it sounds odd because, you know, you're drinking a liquid which is naturally wet, but it does have a dry sensation. You will notice this on some of the wines which are quite high in tannins. It will almost coat your teeth, and you get that. I think the best way to describe it is good.
Yeah.
Because it just gets all over. And again, it's not necessarily a bad thing, but I've said in many cases it's not something that I appeal.
No, if it's in balance, it's not. It's in balance with the other one. It's just there slightly. But if you get too much, then that can spoil a wine for a lot of people.
That'll be not a very well balanced one. And as I said, the tannins outweigh the flavour of the wine. That's not something I particularly like. Some people do, but tannins, that dry edge which you can get mainly in red wines. Okay,
next. So, acidity, there's the next on our list.
Yeah, acidity again is, it's nearly self-explanatory, the acidity, but it's something that you will come across again quite frequently in the wine world. Acidity can really shape a wine, can acidity, and again, mainly in the white wines, although some red wines do have acidity. And acidity is what can make, acidity is almost just like, you know, if you were to take a bite of a lemon slice. And it's making my mouth water now just thinking about it, you know, that kind of really sharp harshness, which just kind of gets the inside of your cheeks there, and sometimes just under your ears, just like a lemon or citrus, any kind of citrus fruit would do. Now, lots of wines do tend to have the acidity in there, and it's a perfectly natural thing to have, and because again, it's almost with the tannins, you have to have it well balanced, because sometimes if the tannins are too much, then that's all you do get. It can spoil the wine, just stick there, it makes it difficult to drink, gives me particularly heartburn. But if you don't have enough tannins in there, it makes the wine what we call flabby. In that it doesn't lift it. Are
you talking about tannins or are you talking about acidic?
Acidity.
Acidity, you just said tannins.
I just said tannins. My apologies, sorry, John. If there's not enough acidity in there, then it can make it flabby, so the wine does nothing, if you know what I mean. It's just flat. Yeah. Flat would be able to describe it. Sort of boring.
Yeah. But you have to be very careful, don't you, because of his...
Yeah, it has to be well balanced for me. I have to make sure that the acidity isn't too high, for me in particular.
Otherwise it gives you tummy upset.
Yeah, a bit of heartburn.
Oh, I don't want that. We don't want that.
I'm at that age.
Oh.
27, it's a rough age to be. It's a rough age.
It is, yeah. Another 6 years. Right, next! So next we have finish, or sometimes referred to as length.
Yep. Finish or length again. It just describes the way, well, basically how it does finish and how long it is when it does finish. So once you've had your glass of wine or the taste of wine and you've swallowed it, a lot of the talk about the length is how long that flavour actually stays in there. Because some nice, I'm not saying there's anything wrong, because the simpler wines will just, you can have a little sip and that, it's delicious, and then flavour's gone. Acidity cleans the palate and nothing much left to go, and that's absolutely fine. Again, there's nothing wrong with that. But then
down to mood.
Yeah, of course it is, and subjective how you like it. But then the length actually, the longer it lasts, obviously, then we would say it's got a longer length, and that will stay there for a lot longer. So you can have a glass and you're still appreciating that flavour 5 minutes later. It's still hanging around there, which I would be a mood thing, but I do prefer them to have a nice long length, so you're not constantly chasing that flavour. You can just have one glass and appreciate it.
And sometimes when they've got a bit of length, they actually change in your mouth, don't they? From when you first had it in your mouth and after you swallowed it, can be a development of a different taste.
Of course they can. They can become almost very different to when you first tried it. That can be quite a lot of fun, because you've had your glass and the initial kind of flavour is whatever it might be, and then as you kind of sitting there thinking about it, it develops into something else. If it's got a nice bit of length in it, and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes it just stays as it should. But it's nice when you've got that, because then that's the kind of wine where you're then discovering new things. You're constantly thinking, what is that? And you want to. For me, I enjoy those wines.
Yeah, excellent. Shall we go on to the next? Okay, the next is Bouquet, Madame Bouquet, or Nose, as it's sometimes known, or as I know it as, Smell.
That is basically, John, that is all it is. The nose or the bouquet, that's you've just got it in a nutshell, like what it smells like, what you can get what we get on the nose. It's that simple.
Well, interestingly, I just read something recently that said that 80% of what you taste is actually the smell. What you think is the taste is actually the smell.
It's very true, because obviously, sometimes because I've got a gentleman who he's got no sense of smell who comes into the shop, but that's when we do the sucking in thing, to get air through the mouth, just getting the air to it. So if you can do it with your nose as well, you get a lot more from it.
Excellent. Okay, so next, wine is tight. I think it must be a Yorkshire expression.
Quite possibly. Wine is tight. It's not something I really hear. I don't hear about this a lot in the wine world, but I appreciate that it is out there. And as far as I know, the wine is tight would mean it's just almost let it breathe. I would say, I think they're thinking when they say wine is tight, it needs to kind of relax.
Unravel. The flavours need to relax and come out.
Yeah, let it breathe.
Hang out there.
Yeah, don't put your hands like that.
Sorry.
It's not that kind of video channel. But I can understand the what they're saying there. Yeah, if a wine is tight, then it does need a little bit of time to relax, be it breathing, be it chilling down, and that could go for both young wines and older wines as well, to let the full complexity come out.
Excellent. Next. Balance. Everything in life is a balance.
Indeed it is, yeah. And I know I use this one quite frequently as well, with the balance. Because the balance, again, that takes into consideration nearly everything we've just spoken about there. The acidity, the tannins, the fruit flavours, the non-fruit flavours, and of course the alcohol. And if any one of these stands out more than the other, it has to stand out quite a lot for us to call it not well balanced. So there's too much, say, alcohol in there that stands out too much. Then that would take a lot for us to call it unbalanced. A lot of them do tend to be very well balanced, but that's down to a winemaker skill. When all these kind of 5 categories marry each other nicely, as opposed to, say, being overpowering, or one just dropping off, hasn't got, the alcohol isn't there, the fruit's not there. Yeah, so well balanced is just marrying everything we've just spoken about into
and not one or any of them being too prominent against the others.
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay, well, we hope you enjoyed that, and Herya, thank you very much for sending that question in. Any of you have got any questions, please send them in, and it could well spark off another episode like this, and where we'll try and answer it through an episode. Until the next time, we look forward to seeing you when we'll be tasting some more wine or gin. We'll look forward to seeing you there. Gin.
Chin.